Hey guys, how's everyone doing? This is Sir Jedi Sentinel, and welcome to the true first episode of Batman Be Vlogged. Because I'm not technically counting the announcement video I did, it's still going to be part of this, but this is the real first episode. Anyway, today we will be looking at episodes 1 and 2 because the series opens with a two-parter. We will be looking at Rebirth, which originally aired in prime time as one special on January 10th, 1999. The episodes later aired separately, episode 1 airing on January 16th, 1999, and episode 2 airing on January 23rd, 1999. As I go through this, I don't know whether or not I'm going to keep the air date information. I might, but we'll see. Anyway, Rebirth is... Rebirth has a story by Alan Burnett, with part 1 being written by Alan Burnett and Paul Dini, and part 2 being written by Stan Berkowitz, with both episodes directed by Kurt Jetta. Jetta, I'm not sure. Anyway, overall thoughts. Actually, before we get to those overall thoughts, we should talk about an elephant in the room. Because I do not like the opening sequence of Batman Beyond. I'm going to be really careful with my wording here. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying I hate it. I'm just saying the style it's going for does not appeal to me personally. All right? Like the music choice and the way the visuals line up with it, it feels like it's kind of going for this grunge type of style, which is just, again, not a music style that appeals to me, and just the way it plays out, like, especially with the on-screen text, it kind of reminds me of that you wouldn't steal a car anti-piracy ad that you used to get on DVDs. That's just me, and I know one of my friends got really mad when I said I didn't like the opening sequence. So quick breakdown of the Bruce Timm verse. Batman the Animated Series is iconic. Superman the Animated Series is really great. Justice League is amazing. Justice League Unlimited is my favorite. I don't like the opening sequence to Batman Beyond. 4 out of 5 is not a bad track record. Anyway, let's go into the episode now, the full two-parter, which, just right off the bat, is utterly fantastic. The problem is it has one really, really good scene, and the rest of the episodes don't measure up to that one scene. And that scene, of course, being the cold open, how this series opens. Again, it's really good, but the cold open is so much better. So the cold open of this episode of Rebirth is basically we see Batman, who has made a new Batsuit. I'm going to talk about the Batman Beyond Batsuit a little bit later. And obviously the suit has all these technological advancements to compensate for his advancing age. The episode opens with him rescuing a kidnapped heiress. And, well, basically Bruce's health starts catching up with him. And in desperation, Batman picks up a gun to use against the perpetrators. And this shakes him to his core for a very good reason. And honestly, the way it's portrayed, it's very harrowing. Like, it is so tense. You are on the edge of your seat. Like, this entire sequence is phenomenally done. You run the entire gamut of emotion along with Bruce. From, the horror to the disappointment in himself. It's... Like I said, it's just really done. The rest of the episode is great too, but it just doesn't measure up to that opening sequence. I don't really have anything bad to say about the episode. I find, like, most of the things are nitpicks that, like, if you kind of just go, oh, it's a comic book show, you can kind of get away with. It's only when you really factor in real world logic that they start rearing their head. And like I said, they're nitpicks. Like, Bruce obviously has a very different build from Terry. So it's like, when he steals the bat suit, why does it fit him? Also, Terry displays no knowledge of technology, except probably a rudimentary one, like how computers work. And he knows and understands the tech of the Batsuit, and minus an initial scene of him learning how to fly and glide, he knows how to use the other functions. Like, he knows how to listen in on a conversation. It's very small things like that. The animation is really gorgeous. The character designs are all really good. Not a big fan of the backgrounds. Actually, questions for people who have seen this series. Um, Batman the Animated Series was very innovative for the time because it was hand drawn on black paper. Was Batman Beyond done the same way? Um, I should have looked into the production history and read the production section on Wikipedia. I didn't. That's on me. So if you know, let me know in the comments. Because there's something about the color scheme that kind of looks like Batman the Animated Series, but just a little bit off. It looks a little too bright. The other thing I will say is that the character designs are really good. The use of color on the characters are really good. But the backgrounds look really bland. Like, it feels like there's colors missing for them. It's a lot of browns, grays, and beiges. I assume it's to make the characters stand out better, but at the same time, again, they just look really dull. I'm going all over the place with my notes on this because, I said I got the main thing I want to say. The plot of this episode is absolutely fantastic with a really good opening. God, that opening is probably one of my favorite scenes so far. Um, like, if I was to rate this episode, it would probably get like an A minus or a 9.9. Again, just because of those nitpicks. Um, Plot is really strong, gorgeously animated. The rest of the music is really good. I think it's just because it lends itself to the atmosphere better. It's good. It has a bit of a rock score to it, unlike the original Batman. To kind of go with the cyberpunk setting, I do like the design of the technology on display as well. Um, but yeah, it's really just that opening I'm hung up on. And again, it's not even bad. It just doesn't appeal to me. I really want to emphasize that because I'm sure if anything's going to set people off, it's going to be that I don't like the opening sequence. So I guess with nothing else, I guess all that's really left about is to kind of talk about the characters and the performances. So let's start with our Batman, Terry McGinnis, voiced by Will Friedle. Um, Boy, I hope I'm saying his name right. Which interesting because well, one, while I knew Will Friedle was Eric Matthews in Boy Meets World, I, because of when I was born and grew up, primarily know Will Friedle as Ron Stoppable. So seeing this from him is a really good performance. It kind of shows how good of an actor he is, just because he can go from Terry McGinnis to Ron Stoppable. And I mean, I don't know how much I'm gonna say on that because, like, when it comes to casting and stuff, Andrea Romano is kind of a genius. But yeah, Will Friedle is amazing. And he's held up, too, by really good writing. Like, Terry McGinnis is not, how do I want to phrase this? An adult's idea of a teenager. He's not an adult's idea of what a teenager sounds like. I'm sure I can't think of a decent example at the moment, but like, I'm sure you've seen some scripts that were written by adults of okay, this is what I think kids sound like, and it's very obvious kids don't talk like that. Terry feels like a real teenager, and Friedel's performance is really good here. I kind of just talked in circles about that, but I cannot stress it enough because there is a lot asked of Friedel in this first episode. Like, he's kind of played as stoic and aloof in the beginning, and then he gets really angry at one of his classmates, and then there's that fight with his dad, and then his dad died. Actually, that is one thing I want to say. I think the fight with his dad was kind of poorly done. I mean, it's two 25-minute episodes, so I kind of get it. There were probably things that they didn't have time to do, but I feel like if their relationship had maybe another scene, it feels like um the adversarial relationship with his dad, being on the outs with him, and then his dad being murdered, all happened really fast. But like so if the cold open is the best scene in this episode, the scene right after Terry's dad's death is probably the second best. Just Friedel's performance is absolutely heartbreaking, because he stormed out after having that fight with his dad, and then he thinks if he'd been there, they could have stopped it. It's so good. Really, the one thing I want to say is, at this point, I've only seen the first 3 episodes, this two-parter and the next one. Friedel's Batman voice isn't great. It's not bad, it needs a bit of work. It comes off as Will Friedle is trying too hard, and it's sounding very forced. So, but aside from that, let's go on to the man, the myth, the legend himself. Kevin Conroy as Batman. As Batman, well, yeah, but as Bruce Wayne. That's gonna take some adjusting to say, because in this series, Terry McGinnis is Batman and Bruce Wayne is Bruce Wayne. And Bruce does not have a lot of screen time in this episode. He has more in episode 2 than he does in episode 1, but he steals the show in every scene he's in. I totally forgot where I was going with it. Like, just at the end of that cold open where he hangs up the Batman suit and just goes, "Never again." Like, that is devastating. Not quite heartbreaking the way Friedel's performance over his dad's death is, but it is devastating. And then the way he's able to deepen his voice, he had to have been 30 when he was doing Batman the Animated Series and Batman Beyond. Like, he comes off as sounding like a gruff old man. Also, there is a bit of personal bias here, because I feel like I've talked about this before. Maybe not on video, maybe just in my personal life, but I like the trope of old, quote-unquote, has-been legends who decided they no longer want to be that person, usually because of trauma, and it's through their stubborn, prospective new protege that they kind of make peace with the sins of their past and become a new version of the legend they used to be. Like Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi, Warwick Davis in Willow, Sylvester Stallone in Creed. This version of Bruce Wayne is playing into that trope, and I already love it, and Conroy's performance is simply amazing. 2 more performances I want to single out here. We get a couple more, but just I'm sure that'll be prevalent later on. Like Lauren Tom is Dana, one of Terry's friends, and Terry Garr is Terry's mom, Mary McGinnis, which I never would have guessed. I primarily know Terry Garr for her more comedic work, like Young Frankenstein. So to give her this kind of serious role, I never would have thought of that. But again, Andrea Romano is a genius. But the other 2 performances I want to single out first is kind of the primary villain of this episode. No, I'll hold off on him for just a moment longer. Sort of what looks to be the major villain of the series. Sherman Howard as Derek Powers. So there is a really good bit of world building done with Derek Powers in the cold open. By the way, we have the cold open, and then we have the opening credits sequence, and then we have the start of the episode proper, which takes place 20 years after that cold open. So, Derek Powers, just for a bit of background information, if you've never seen Batman Beyond, is from a rival company. And he's been trying, at the start of the cold open, he'd been trying to merge with Wayne Tech Enterprises. Or just Wayne Enterprises. I'm not sure. But, and then after the cold open and the 20-year time jump into the future, he has succeeded, presumably because of Bruce's actions in the cold open. He became a recluse. So Derek Powers was able to take over, and Wayne Enterprises, Wayne Tech, again, I feel like the company has gone by several different names, has become Wayne Powers. And Sherman Howard just plays the role perfectly. Like, from the very beginning, you get that, pardon my language, smarmy, rich asshole vibe right off the bat. Like, every scene he's on, the way he talks, there's just this sliminess to his voice. You really just want to punch him in the face. Like, it's really good. And given how this episode ends, I'm really interested to see where it goes from there. The only other performance I do want to single out and talk about before we end things here is sort of the quote-unquote main villain of the episode. Because you can make the case it's Derek Powers, but also his main henchman, Mr. Fix, voiced by George Takei. And, you know, to cast George Takei as a henchman, I never would have thought that. But, man, he is great. Which is really impressive because I think across both episodes, he only has maybe 6 or 7 lines. And just, he delivers them with this deep, powerful voice that, when combined with Mr. Fix's design, just makes him so menacing. Like, I think one of Takei's most intimidating deliveries was when Batman is spying on Powers and Mr. Fix, and, you know, Powers is obviously worried that Terry is going to expose what Derek Powers is up to. And he says something like, "I don't want it all being undone by a snot-nosed brat." And Mr. Fix, Takei, just has this chilling delivery of, "I took care of his father, didn't I? Oh, God." So yeah, if I haven't made it obvious in the roundabout way I talk about things, Rebirth is an absolutely stellar start to the series, and it's got me hyped for more, and I cannot wait. But that is just my opinion. Batman Beyond, Episode 1 and 2, Rebirth. Have you seen it yet? What are your thoughts? Start a conversation in the comments below. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Click the bell next to subscribe to get notifications when I upload. And in the description box below, you will find the link to my Twitter for the time being, where you can follow me and get updates on the channel. This is Sir Jedi Sentinel, and I'll see you guys next week for Episode 3.